Okay, welcome everyone to another day of our Mental Health Awareness Week. So, for the month of May, we've been focusing on how we can best help our pets' mental health. Today, we have a really wonderful expert guest. We're so excited to have Dr. Judy Bierman. And I'm going to read your bio because it is so impressive. You have done so many things for a variety of living beings, and all of the initials, I think, speak for themselves. So you're a DVM, CVH, CVA, CVCH, CVSMT. You graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison with a BS in bacteriology. My gosh, what an interesting start right out the gate. And then from the University of Minnesota College of Veterinary Medicine with a DVM in 1992. You worked in a small town mixed practice, both large and small animals. And then you did small animal and exotics, which is super cool, using Western medicine for 16 years. That's our traditional medicine. Then you wanted to help animals that couldn't be diagnosed or treated with Western medicine and those that developed some severe side effects. So you went to the Qi Institute for traditional Chinese veterinary medicine training. You became certified in veterinary acupuncture, Chinese herbalism. You practiced Tui Na. You took courses in advanced applied kinesiology and became certified in veterinary spinal manipulation therapy. After all of that, you became a homeopath for both pets and people. So welcome, Dr. Judy. Holy cow, we are so grateful to have you on this week's episode of Mental Health Awareness Week.
Well, it's really great to be here.
So first, for anybody that's a little bit new, could you just give a really brief explanation of the kind of the differences between Eastern and Western and TCVM? Because we're going to talk about the TCVM perspective of mental health today.
Yeah, so they're pretty different. It was really hard for me to learn it after I'd been doing conventional medicine for a while, Western medicine, and I'm like, "What? Why is this working?" And then I'm like, "Wait, just realize it is working." So hey, great. Anyway, the big differences are that in our conventional medicine, we're kind of chasing problems in most of the time. Like if you have your animal has some kind of disease, you're going to give it a treatment for that, or an injury, and you're going to give it a treatment for that, but it's not so much prevention. And in Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese veterinary medicine, we're looking at who someone is in their whole being. We want to understand who they are in their own being, but also in their life around them and who's around them and their whole situation. We want to look at everything about them. We want to look at the food they're eating, the movement they get, how they're moving, how they're going through life. And we have 5 different personality types that we look at in Chinese medicine. And based on that, we do a lot. And the diagnosis is really different too. When I see a patient, an animal patient, I do use my conventional training for the exam, but then I also use my Chinese training for an exam. So we look at the tongue, and they have to show it freely. So you can't like pry open their mouth and look at it. You're going to see the wrong thing. And then we feel pulses, and every animal, every type of animal, the pulses are going to be a little different. Like cows only have 3 pulses we check, and we check those in the tail. And horses, we check the jugular pulses, and cats and dogs, we check the femoral pulses inside the back legs. And it gives us a lot of information about all the different organs of the body, along with the tongue, along with feeling the paws, and with feeling the nose, with feeling the ears, with feeling the whole body, feeling over the body. It gives us a lot of information about who that individual is. So we look at someone as the individual that they are, and then based on that, then we treat them using food therapy, using Chinese herbal medicine, using acupuncture, using Tui Na, which is Chinese massage and physical therapy, and using movement. So there are lots of ways to help somebody feel better in Chinese medicine. And we want to keep them feeling well. So like originally Chinese medicine for humans was you keep them feeling well. We pay you as long as you're well. We don't pay you when you're sick. and that's, the complete opposite of our system that we have here.
Yeah, and it's really interesting how the pulses are different for the different types of animals. I had no idea that you check cows' tails. That's so cool. Um, so there are five personalities that kind of every living being falls into. Is that correct?
Right, right. There's wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And it's kind of, there's a little, everything's circular in Chinese medicine. Everything comes around. What comes around goes around, right? So there's a wheel that
Yep.
shows the different personalities and wood, and then it goes with the seasons. So that's the circle. So wood is springtime, which is now. So you can see out my back window, you can see the birds flying around. Oh, I've got some feeders back there, and you see the green leaves. That's wood, and it's springtime. And then we have fire, which is summertime. And you can see wood is like a change of season, and it's getting warm. Actually, today's supposed to be pretty hot here. And then summer is hotter, and summer is at the top. So you could also say a clock. You could say like 12 o'clock, which is high sun. It's hotter. Summer is the hottest season, and it goes with the color red. Wood, springtime goes with the color green. Uh, oh, I didn't mean to do that. And then summer, the next one is like late summer. Late summer is earth, and earth is the color yellow, and that is still warm, and it's kind of more damp because you think late summer, like August, things are kind of damp then. And then we have fall, and fall is metal, and fall is a color silver, or kind of silverish, grayish, and it's dry time. Then the fall things dry out. So you might have more dry problems, and they each have organs. I'm sorry, I'm kind of totally forgetting to say the organs for you. Springtime is liver. The liver gallbladder is springtime, green, and wood. Summer, the noon part, that's hot. Of course, it's red, and that has to do with heart. It also has to do with organs that don't actually exist in a body, which I'm not going to get into that today. It's a little bit more. And then earth, which is the late summer, the yellow, it has to do with spleen. Now we say spleen, but what it really means, so there's a lot of misnomers when you try to translate from Chinese into English, or when people did back in the 1800s or before that. Spleen, stomach, it just means the gut. So the gut is yellow, and then fall is the liver, not the liver. I am wrong. The lung, the lung and large intestine. Lung and large intestine is fall, because you think about those things, if they get dried out, you have problems, right? And that's the dry time, is the fall. And then we have winter, and winter is kidney. And kidney, the color is black, it's dark, it's deep, it has to do with water, kidney and bladder, dark, deep water. And coldness, it has to do with cold. So those are the organs and the TCVM circle.
Yeah, and I think for at a high level, the gist is that everything is connected. Everything has a rhyme, a reason, a place. And so for those of you that have not heard of these personalities before, or you want to learn more about your specific pet, we do have a pet personality quiz, which is super simple. You just check little boxes of things that apply to your pet. We also have a human personality quiz if you're curious about yourself. And you'll find that when you start reading these descriptions, a lot of things do fall into these five categories. And it can even describe, as Dr. Judy was alluding to, various ailments and systems within the body. So it's really cool, really fascinating if you can take a second to take the pet personality quiz. Okay, so could you also describe what the translation would be of Shen? Because when we're talking about mental health, the concept of Shen and TCVM comes up. So could you explain what that means?
Yeah, so Shen is spirit. So if you have a good Shen, it means let's say an animal has a good Shen. I'm just looking at one of my cats right now, and he's laying in the sun. He's very happy. He's very calm. He can be calm. So a good Shen is like, you're balanced. So in Chinese medicine, everything has to do with balance, everything. If you're balanced, it doesn't matter what your personality is. It doesn't matter anything. You're balanced. Great. So often Chinese food will be a balanced meal. There'll be hot things, cold things, damp draining things, damp making things. There'll be everything in one meal. That's for someone who's balanced. They can handle the things that come at them. They're resilient. My cat, I didn't get to play with him right before this today, and slightly disappointed. He looked at me, but then he went and laid in the sun. He can handle it just fine. He doesn't get upset. He doesn't knock things over. He doesn't start screaming. He doesn't do any of that stuff because he's quite well balanced. If you had a poor Shen or hardly any Shen, it might be that you're very, very ill and there's nothing going on. And the reason you're lying there is you're just too weak, and your Shen is just so blah. There's just nothing there. You can have a Shen that is way out of whack. And I think that's a bit of what we're talking about today. So it can be way out of whack for lots of reasons. It can be originally your personality, and maybe you're getting too much heat and you already have a really fiery personality. This is very, very outgoing, talkative, moving, shaking, and you're on really hot food, and you're let's see, what kind of dog might that be? How about a Belgian Malinois that never gets any exercise? Yeah, you're just asking for it right there. So, and eating really hot food and
adding fire to fire, and then.
And I'm not saying that Malinois are fire. They may or may not be fire, but if one was, and it was eating hot food and it wasn't getting the exercise that it needs, you're all going to be in trouble. So
Right.
That would be an out of balance. They'd be like, whoa, they'd be screaming, they'd be breaking things, they'd be climbing the walls, literally climbing the walls. So it could really be problematic. If your Shen is not balanced, it could be really low because you're just sick and really old, or you're just really sick and you're really sad. Maybe you're really depressed because, one of your housemates passed away and you were really close to them, and that could make a very sad Shen. But there are lots of ways it can go off. And it can affect the other systems of the body too. If you have a liver personality, the wood, the springtime, the green, and you're not getting any greens or liver in your diet, and everything's really hot and damp, and you're really angry about something, you might become angry and bitey. You might be a Chihuahua. I'm not saying
aggressive.
those are like that necessarily, but some Chihuahuas, right? Some Chihuahuas. So, right. So you might be in danger of being injured. So there are lots of ways that it can go off, not be in balance.
And so for pets that are experiencing these Shen disturbances, have you found that there are certain personality types that it impacts more frequently, or is this something that impacts all 5 personality types?
It can impact all 5 personality types. I mean, anything can be out of balance. I will say that depending on the personality type, it will affect different organs more likely. So like a liver personality, a wood personality, springtime green, remember, it's more likely to affect the liver. The liver is in charge of making things go through your body, preventing stagnation, keeping things moving well. If you have stagnation, which means that your things aren't moving the way they should, it can get bottled up in there and make you angry. It can also make things in your body be tight. So like your tendons and sinews, tendons and ligaments can be tight, more prone to breaking, not necessarily bones breaking, but more like ACL, CCL, cranial cruciate ligament ruptures in dogs' knees, any kind of a sprain or strain that can really affect that. And you can imagine that somebody who really needs to go to prevent the stagnation. So a big thing to prevent stagnation is movement. So if you need to go, but things are breaking, your cruciate's ruptured and then you can't move right, you get crabby. If your liver is feeling that way, if you're a wood personality, your liver's not moving right, you get crabby, and then you're going to be more prone to biting, scratching, yelling, really being pretty mad and pretty angry. So that's definitely one thing there that we don't want. We want to balance that out, right? Fire personality, because they're so they also need exercise. They definitely everybody needs exercise. They definitely need it. But they are prone to having everything come up to their head. So some stuff comes up for fire personality, up from the heart, up into the head. They'll get a red, if they're a human. And I know this because I'm very
Mm.
fire personality. Red face, everything gets hot, their head gets hot, and they can get angry, but more likely they are likely to get angry, but they're also likely to just be crazed. Wah,
Mm.
like I was giving that example of a melon walk climbing up the walls. They can feel like climbing up the wall. So they need to be cooled down. So that's really important with them. So these two are probably the ones that most are going to need a little more Shen balancing. And the Shen has a lot to do with fire because it is kind of the heart of the Shen. They're kind of the same thing in Chinese medicine, the heart and the head. The earth personality, which is the laid back, mellow, they like to be round and large. They like to be laid back. It's that late summer yellow spleen stomach. So it's the gut. So they're more likely to have gut problems. Now, if the gut is so bad, it can affect the liver and then you can get crabby. So it can affect that way. The meadow, which is the lung and the large intestine, they are all about doing everything right and following the rules and doing it right. And, real good office manager kind of person. They get it done right. A great engineer. And they do everything right, right? They do it right. They follow the rules. But if they're in a situation where that can't happen, or they're really dried out and it's hard to breathe, they're having asthma problems, or they're having really bad constipation problems, they're more likely to be pretty depressed. Could they get angry? Sure. I mean, you could make the household such a chaotic mess, or things such a chaotic mess for them when nobody follows the rules, that they're more likely to have the lung and large intestine problems, but they could get angry. It's not as likely. The kidney, the water personality is like deep and dark and quiet. And that's the cat that you never see because they're hiding. They're hiding. I stay back. I hang out by myself. Because they stay back by themselves, you might not see them as much. They are prone to having some kidney and bladder problems. You have to push them pretty hard to get them angry, but if you try to bring them out and put them in a place of prominence, like say you have somebody who has a water personality who wants to be alone in a quiet, dark place, and you decide they need to be a show dog. Well, that is not
Mm.
going well. They're going to be really upset and they will have Shen disturbance. Probably they're just going to be scared, but sometimes a really scared animal bites. So
Right.
what I'm saying is any personality can, if they're pushed enough. You don't need a lot of pushing in a fire personality to get them that way. You don't need a lot of pushing in a wood personality to get them to have some Shen disturbance. So those two, I would say, are most likely to have the problems. And a lot of it too is due to our lifestyle, living the way that people do and having animals in a smaller place, not having as much exercise, not having the fresh food, which I know because you're watching this, you're probably working on that really well. So that's fantastic.
And this is why I love TCVM so much, because you just described perfectly my wood personality dog. She's a Cane Corso Rottweiler mix. And when I first adopted her, I lived in an apartment. And at 2 years old, she totally tore her cruciate ligament. um, And now that I have a house and a yard, and she has a whole setup unique to her where she can parole the perimeter and she barks at cars and gets to be on guard dog duty. She takes her job very seriously. She has been the healthiest ever. Like, I had so many health problems with her earlier in life when I lived in an apartment. She's eating the same food, getting minimally vaxxed, no chemicals, all of that has been the same, but just changing the environment that she has been in has been significantly helpful for the type of dog that she is and those natural instincts, that natural personality that she has. So, wow, you're a wizard. You just described her perfectly.
That's perfect. And something I didn't mention about wood personality is they like to be in charge. And now she has a yard to be in charge of. I'm in charge of this house. I'm in charge. Let's take care of things. Let's get it done. So a wood personality can be a balanced, any one of these personalities that's balanced. I mean, a balanced water too isn't going to be hiding. They're going to be able to handle things. There's not going to be want to be out in front. They're not going to want to be a show dog, but they can handle any of these personalities can be balanced. Like your dog is now balanced. I mean, those breeds, that's what they want to do too. They are guard dog breeds and they want to get stuff done. And I'm in charge and I'm getting it done and I'm able to do it. So this is perfect. What a good life. What a good example.
Yeah. Yeah, she is a great example. She's taught me a lot, I will say that. So when you're describing these types of conditions, it sounds like a lot of them are what you would consider an excess. Is that true? Or are there also deficiencies that can cause Shen disturbances?
That is a really good question. I would say in a young animal, a lot of times it's excess. Is it always? No, it is not always, because sometimes we get our animals as rescues from places where they've had a really rough start. I know in the northern United States, a lot of times animals are shipped up from the south who may have been born on the side of the road or found on the side of the road, or even from other countries where they've had a really hard life and they've had a lot of things done to them and they might start out deficient. I mean, that certainly can happen. And either way, you can have Shen disturbance. So like, if I do a human example, women of childbearing age lose blood and they can easily get blood deficient. And blood deficiency can make you crabby because it is a part of the wood. The liver is mostly in charge of the reproductive system. I mean, there's still water in charge of that too, but a lot of it has to do with the liver. And so if the liver is blood deficient or excess, it can be crabby. So it can be crabby. So for those humans, and I know this isn't about humans, but there's blood deficiency foods, you can eat that help with that too. Or animals that do go through cycles. So horses don't generally get spayed. And so they can have, it's not quite the same in horse, but they still need things to balance them out with their wood system. And that's probably where we're going to see the most. Well, also with fire. I mean, we're going to see yin deficiency with fire. So it means you're not enough coolness. Anybody whose animals are just on dry food, they are pretty much automatically yin deficient if they just have that. So they need a yin tonic, and that can also make them not right in the head, have Shen disturbance. And so adding yin to their diet or adding yin in other ways is good. But diet is kind of the most basic way to help with deficiencies or excesses because everybody has to eat. So it's like kind of the easiest way. Sometimes it takes a little longer when you're doing it food-wise. And sometimes it really doesn't at all. I mean, when I learned my Chinese medicine training, we were always told, the food changes are going to take longer. Sometimes I see them really quickly make a change in excess or deficiency. So either way, it can be problematic.
Gotcha. And that was actually going to be my next question was you have a wide range of skills and alternative therapies that you can use with your patients. So if a patient came to you with what seemed like behavioral issues, are you able to apply things like food therapy, herbs, any other therapies to help these pets?
For sure. I mean, I do my conventional exam, I do my Chinese exam, I do a chiropractic exam. It always helps to have your body not have stagnation, right, where things aren't moving correctly. So especially for liver personality, because their liver can't handle stagnation, which means they have to be able to move. But everybody has to be able to move, right? Pain doesn't help anybody. It really doesn't. I mean, if you put your hand on a hot stove, you want to take it off. Otherwise, any kind of chronic pain is not helpful. So relieving that in whatever way we can is fantastic. And then homeopathy is a big thing that I do for behavior because it's also looking at the whole being. But I almost always talk about food. And I do nutrition consults where that's all we talk about. I do the exam and then we talk about what is best for this patient. In fact, I had three dogs that I went to their house recently, and 2 little dogs and a big dog. And the big dog definitely they were all young. So the big dog had damp, heat, was having some behavior problems. Um, and then the two little dogs just had heat. And so we really changed their diet to help them. And the dampness can cause problems too. So, Chinese medicine is much more complicated. I could really get into a lot of things, but there is something called phlegm misting the mind, which means you can't even think because you're so confused up here when you're really hot. This particular dog is very fiery, very outgoing. Hello, hello, a German Shepherd. Absolutely gorgeous. Just a gorgeous, darling honey bunch. I mean, all my patients are great, of course. And but she'd gotten kind of mad about something, and there had been I think there had not been an actual injury, but the people were worried because the other dogs are small and she's big. And so we have to be a little careful in that regard for sure. Not a little careful, good careful. So some things that we did for her was to change her diet to cool her off and drain the damp, which can cause the phlegm, misting the mind, and make you feel confused and make you feel like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I might just, bite this thing. And it might be another dog, which is not good. So with food therapy, we worked on that. And then I also talked to her about changing some physical things in the area. And they already were working on that. They're going to make a much bigger yard. And I talked to her about doing some nose work training, some scent training, which is one of the best things you can do with dogs. You can do it with cats too. You really can. But you can look those things up online. You can take local courses. You can have someone come to your home and show you. But they're really, really great things because everything in a dog is through their nose. I mean, their noses are so much more sensitive than ours are. And if you make their nose happy, their brain is happy. So this is a neurologic thing that tells us that everything from their nose goes straight into their brain to help it to work better, to not have stagnation, to not have the phlegm misting the mind, along with the food to help everything. And like we were talking about before, like Gwen said, her dog now has a good yard to run around in, be able to do the things they're able to do. I know a lot of people are not able to do that. And that is, that is a whole different issue. but whatever you can do to get your dog into these situations and let them just sniff. Do sniffing walks. Your walk. And you know what I used to feel, because I'm fiery and I have to move all the time. I'd be like, but I need to keep walking. You know what I do instead? My dog just wants to sniff. I do squats. I do side jacks. I march in place. I look like an idiot, and who cares? The dog is happy, right? So I'm doing that. I'm getting the exercise that I need so I can be calm and do my job. And my dog is just spending his time with his nose in whatever he has his nose in. And he is happy. And now he's completely exhausted because we did that earlier today. So, and sniffing makes you more tired. So a walk where you're going fast and your dog's having to go fast, all you're doing is training them to need more exercise. Sadly enough, because you're just making them stronger and have to keep going. You do the things that makes them have to use their mind, and they're going to be able to do this better. I know this isn't exactly Chinese medicine, but it's an important thing to know. And you can do things like that for your cats too. You can hide treats around the house.
Absolutely.
You can make them use treat balls. You can make them have to and you can do this with homemade food or raw food or canned food. You don't have to use dry food. You can use freeze dried. There's so many different ways you can do these things that don't use food that isn't right for your particular animal. So there are lots of things you could do. Now, one thing I have stopped doing is throwing food out in the yard for my dog to find because the squirrels were enjoying it way too much. But that is something that you could also do as long as your dog's good at finding it. My dog would kind of give up and let the squirrels take it. As you can see, he is not a wood or fire personality at all. He is total earth. He's like, whatever, I'll just stand here and sniff, or I'll just lay here. I'm a laid back dude. So as you can imagine, he did have gut issues in the past when I first got him.
I absolutely love earth personalities. I love earth personalities. Just I want to absorb all that energy of like, you're so calm. You just love life. You're happy. It's a sunny day. I love that.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We just scraped the surface on this topic, but I really hope that everybody found this helpful because I know after everyone digs into what their pet's personality is, all these pieces are going to start to come together into the puzzle, just like it did for my dog. So thank you so much, Dr. Jody, for all of your expertise today. And where can people find more from you if they would like to learn more?
They can go on my website, which is anshenvet.com, anshenvet.com. And there's a lot of information there that they can dig through, and they can always contact my office with more.
And we do have your basic homeopathy course on Dr. Judy U as well. So we'll put a link to that in the description. So if people are interested specifically in homeopathy, they can learn a little bit more from you.
That's great. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.